Thank you for being here today and being willing to share your memories of Ascension. So if you could start off by sharing your name and how many years you've been at Ascension, that would be wonderful.
Well, I'm Carol Batchhelder, and I have been at Ascension since I was 7 years old. And do I have to really tell how many years that is?
More than 50.
It's been quite a few.
That's great. So all those years ago, what drew you to Ascension? What brought you through Ascension's doors?
Well, actually, at the tender age of 7, it was my mother that brought me to Ascension. And she had been raised in the Episcopal Church. And so she was quite steeped in the Episcopal liturgy. And her parents were very devoted Episcopalians, so she was brought up so accustomed to the Episcopal service, and she thoroughly enjoyed the Episcopal liturgy, and she wanted me to enjoy it too. So that's what brought us here.
Yeah, so multi-generational, that's wonderful. So what has been one ministry area that you've been very passionate about? And if you can tell us a little bit about that ministry area and how it has deepened your faith.
Well, when Father Charles Ridge proposed the idea of having a columbarium courtyard at Ascension, I thought that was just a marvelous idea, and I endorsed it thoroughly. My father had died many years before, and his remains were in the big columbarium at Acacia off of the Bothell Highway. And I would go out there, and I'd be the only one in that big building. It was cold, it was lonely, and it was impersonal. And frankly, it made me sad to go out there. So I thought to have your loved ones and to your dear Ascension parishioners who have passed on, to have them here at Ascension, and they would be with us forever. And I really looked forward to that. So they established the columbarium courtyard renovation committee, and I was on that, and I was pleased to be on it. The task was very arduous, frankly. It was very complicated and involved, and it did continue over a long period of time. But, things moved ahead, and we never gave up. We persevered through ups and downs. and through the strong leadership of many parishioners whose services were so valued, we did conclude the construction of the columbarium courtyard in 2003, and it was absolutely beautiful. And it was 15 years since its inception, so it was a long project, but
Wow.
It turned out beautifully. And of course, by 2003, my mother had joined my father at Acacia, and I had it didn't take me any time at all to bring them back to Ascension, because this is where they belonged, and also it gave me comfort to have them here.
Wow, what a wonderful story. I'm glad to know that your parents are so close by. So shifting a topic question, what are, say, 2 or 3 memories that you have of Ascension? I mean, I'm sure you have hundreds of them, so it's hard to identify just a couple. But if you have a few that stand out, whether they're, from your childhood or young adulthood or any stage of your life, just some memories that really stand out to you about Ascension.
Well, actually, I have 2 stories, and both of them are really related to the columbarium, so that's kind of appropriate, too. When we finished the columbarium in 2003, there was one item that we didn't have the funds to make the permanent improvement, and that was the floor of the condominium. We didn't have the funds to put down the pavers, to install the pavers. And so on a temporary basis, we installed gravel. And it was only going to be temporary. But a very good friend of mine and a longtime parishioner, Fran Burrows, it just irritated her no end to walk on that gravel. She talked about it all the time and agitated about it, and she was just very unhappy about the situation. And then finally, she made a decision. She wrote a check to the church for $20,000 to have the gravel removed and the pavers put down. And I was so proud of her, and I really chuckled when I heard what she had done. But I was proud of her decision.
Oh, wow.
And the second story is a little more current. It occurred in September of 2020. And Chris Peterson called the church to tell them that his mother, Marilyn, had died, and the family wanted to purchase a niche in the columbarium. And he had been raised at Ascension, and all the children had too. Keith and Marilyn had been longtime parishioners here. Keith was a doctor. He was a sports medicine specialist. And when he retired from his practice, they sold their big house here on Magnolia, and many years ago had moved to Eastern Washington. So anyway, I called Chris and arranged to meet with him one evening so that we could pick out a niche. And Chris lives here on Magnolia, and he and his dog walked to the church. Well, when they arrived, he told me that the dog was going to select the niche. I said, oh, okay. And so we followed the dog running around the columbarium, and the dog was sniffing the whole way and going into every corner, but he didn't stop. So finally, Chris and I were talking on the west side of the columbarium, and all of a sudden I looked up, and the dog had sat down in front of M5, which is a niche at the top of the stairs to the columbarium. And the dog was just wagging his tail and smiling at us with his tongue hanging out. And lo and behold, that niche, M5, was the only one available in that row. Chris was just so proud of his dog, and mission accomplished.
Wow. That's a great story. I'll remember that every time I walk into the columbarium. So, another question for you. Why have you remained active in the Episcopal parish for all these years? You've been a member here. What's kept you here?
Well, Ascension has been my spiritual home and my parish family for my entire life. So actually, I hold it very deep and very close to my heart. And I wanted Ascension to always thrive and succeed, and I wanted to contribute to its well-being, so that's why I remained active. Mm-hmm. After worshiping here with this community all these years, certainly Ascension has contributed to my well-being, and I have felt very blessed. Yeah. And I fervently pray that Ascension will continue to thrive and will continue to do God's work in the world, and that God will bless many more generations at Ascension for the many 85 years to come.
85 more.
85 more, that's correct.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's great. Well, that's the end of my formal questions. Are there any other thing that you'd like to share about this community, or another memory that popped in your head, or?
Well, I just think this community is very, very special.
Yeah.
And that we are fortunate to be with Ascension, I think. Yeah. They have prospered and done well over the years, and have all the ability to continue that blessing for everyone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you for your time and sharing all these memories. And I know sometimes it's bittersweet, but we look forward to many more years to come with you in our parish, and we thank you for all you've contributed.
My pleasure.
Yeah. All right.